Horcrux creation is regarded as the darkest of all magical practices. Unlike curses that harm others, this ritual wounds the caster's very soul. To create one, a wizard must commit murder, the ultimate act of tearing life away. This violent rupture of the soul is then sealed through secret incantations, embedding a fragment into an object of the caster's choice. The result is a Horcrux, an anchor to life that keeps its maker tethered to the world even if their body is destroyed. The lure is obvious, immortality, yet the cost is devastating. Each Horcrux leaves the creator less human, their soul increasingly fractured and grotesque. Tom Riddle's transformation into Lord Voldemort, his face snake-like, his voice inhuman, was not only symbolic, but the physical consequence of mutilating his own essence. Horcruxes themselves are cursed, malevolent objects. They corrupt anyone who comes near them, as seen with the diary that possessed Ginny Weasley and the locket that poisoned the minds of those who carried it. Destroying them is nearly as difficult as making them, requiring destructive magic powerful enough to annihilate the soul fragment within. At Hogwarts, this knowledge is forbidden even in theory. To teach Horcrux making would not simply risk abuse, it would plant the seed of an idea capable of unraveling the morality of magic itself.
Avada Kedavra, the killing curse, is the darkest spell in the wizarding world. Its purpose is terrifyingly simple: to end life in an instant. No blood, no wounds, no visible damage. Victims collapse as if asleep, but they will never wake. This absence of struggle makes the curse even more unsettling: death without a trace. What makes Avada Kedavra uniquely feared is its finality. There is no counter-curse, no shield charm, no defensive spell that can block it. Traditional protections crumble when faced with that flash of green light. Only rare, extraordinary magic, like the ancient love protection that saved Harry Potter, has ever deflected it. The mechanics of the spell are deceptively easy. It doesn't require complex wand movements or elaborate rituals. The true barrier is intent. The caster must wholeheartedly desire their target's death. Doubt, hesitation, or conflicted emotions render the curse useless. That moral demand is why so few can cast it successfully. At Hogwarts, it is strictly forbidden because teaching it would normalize murder itself. To wield Avada Kedavra is not simply to master a spell, it is to cross a line that forever binds a wizard to darkness.
Crucio destroys through agony. Known as the Cruciatus Curse, its purpose is not to end life, but to shatter it. When cast, the victim is overwhelmed by unbearable pain, as though every nerve is set on fire and every bone is breaking at once. Unlike other curses, the suffering leaves no visible wounds, but the mind and body remember every second. The real cruelty of Crucio lies in its psychology. The spell cannot be cast with simple anger. To work properly, the caster must truly want their target to suffer. Malice, genuine, sadistic pleasure in another's torment is what fuels the curse. Without that intent, the curse fizzles into nothing more than a sting. This emotional requirement makes it one of the clearest markers of a dark wizard. Extended exposure can cause permanent insanity, as it did to Frank and Alice Longbottom, who were tortured until their minds collapsed. At Hogwarts, Crucio is forbidden because it strips magic of all its higher purpose. To practice it is to treat pain as a weapon and cruelty as an art no student should ever be taught.
Fiendfire, cursed living flames. Fiendfire is destruction given form. Unlike ordinary fire, this cursed blaze develops a will of its own, twisting into colossal serpents, lions, and dragons that hunt relentlessly. It consumes everything in its path: flesh, stone, even enchanted objects such as Horcruxes. Once unleashed, it spreads with terrifying speed, turning rooms, forests, or entire battlegrounds into raging infernos. The danger lies not just in its power, but in its refusal to obey. Controlling Fiendfire demands mastery few possess. Even skilled dark wizards risk losing command, at which point the fire turns indiscriminately on friend and foe alike. When Vincent Crabbe attempted it in the Room of Requirement, the flames rose beyond his control, destroying centuries of hidden artifacts and consuming him in the process. Ordinary extinguishing charms and water are useless against fiend fire. It adapts and grows, feeding on magical energy as much as on matter. Only the rarest forms of countermagic or immediate escape offer a chance of survival. At Hogwarts, the spell is forbidden because it is chaos disguised as magic. To teach it would be to hand students a weapon that even its masters cannot fully control.
Imperio. The Imperious Curse, or Imperio, is perhaps the most insidious of the unforgivable curses. It does not wound the body or cause pain. Instead, it robs a person of the very thing that makes them human: free will. Under its influence, the victim becomes a puppet, carrying out orders without resistance and often with a chilling sense of calm satisfaction. To them, obedience feels natural, even pleasant. This manipulation makes the curse a perfect tool of domination. A victim can betray loved ones, commit crimes, or even leap to their death, all while believing it to be their own choice. Only witches and wizards of extraordinary willpower can resist its grip, as Harry Potter managed during the Triwizard Tournament. But such resistance is rare. For most, the curse burrows too deeply, dulling their thoughts until they yield completely. Its danger extends beyond the battlefield. During Voldemort's rise, the Imperious Curse blurred the line between guilt and innocence. Some Death Eaters claimed they acted under its control to escape justice, while others truly had no memory of their crimes. At Hogwarts, Imperio is banned because it corrupts identity itself. To teach it would be to sanction slavery of the mind, a violation more terrifying in many ways than death.
Infurious animation. Infurious animation is the dark spell that reanimates corpses, turning the dead into mindless servants. These creations, called inferi, are not alive, but puppets of magic, cold, unthinking, and relentless. Unlike zombies from folklore, they don't wander aimlessly. They follow their master's commands with precision, making them an ideal weapon for intimidation and attack. The horror of inferi lies in both the physical and the psychological. Physically, they cannot feel pain, cannot be reasoned with, and will not stop until their target is destroyed or captured. Psychologically, they are often the bodies of loved ones, stripped of dignity and weaponized against the living. To face an inferius is to confront both death and desecration. Voldemort weaponized this spell to terrifying effect, filling a subterranean lake with an army of inferi to guard one of his Horcruxes. When disturbed, hundreds of pale hands dragged victims toward the water, a scene designed to overwhelm through terror before any duel could begin. The only reliable defense against inferi is fire, which they instinctively fear, but even that requires presence of mind in the face of horror. Hogwarts forbids this spell because it violates the most sacred boundary of magic, the dignity of the dead, turning grief into a weapon and corpses into tools of war.
Maledictions. Maledictions are lingering curses that outlast the moment of casting. Unlike ordinary hexes, which fade with time or can be countered, maledictions cling to their victims like a disease. They warp the body, weaken the spirit, and in some cases, pass down through generations. The most infamous example is the blood malediction that afflicted Astoria Greengrass, leaving her frail and marked for an early death. For the caster, the appeal lies in endurance. A duel may end in minutes, but a malediction continues its work for years, ensuring that the victim suffers long after the wand has been lowered. Some are crafted to disfigure, others to sap vitality, and others to shorten life itself. Their cruelty is not in immediate destruction, but in slow, relentless erosion. Breaking a malediction is almost impossible. Even the most skilled healers can only manage symptoms, not cures. Attempts to undo them often carry risks as great as the curse itself, making permanent scars, physical or magical, common. At Hogwarts, maledictions are forbidden because they transform magic into a lifelong sentence. To teach them would be to hand students the ability to inflict suffering that endures across years or generations, a lesson that corrodes the very idea of magic as a force for growth and wonder.
Sectum Sempra.
Sectum Sempra is not an ancient relic of dark magic, but the invention of a student, Severus Snape, during his years at Hogwarts under the alias of the Half-Blood Prince. Unlike jinxes or hexes meant to inconvenience or disarm, Sectum Sempra was designed with only one purpose: violence. It conjures invisible blades that slice deep into flesh, leaving wounds that bleed heavily and can prove fatal within moments. Its danger lies in how deceptively simple it is to cast. A whispered incantation can unleash injuries as devastating as a sword strike, yet undoing the damage is almost impossible. Only Snape himself mastered the counter-curse, Vulnera Sanentur, meaning that for most victims, there is no effective treatment. The imbalance between how easily it can be inflicted and how rarely it can be healed makes Sectum Sempra especially lethal. Harry Potter learned this truth when he used it against Draco Malfoy in a moment of desperation. The result was catastrophic. Draco collapsed in a pool of his own blood, saved only by Snape's intervention. At Hogwarts, Sectum Sempra is forbidden because it embodies magic twisted into a concealed weapon. Teaching it would blur the line between defense and murder, giving students a blade they could wield with a single word.